Welcome back to Digital Insecurity. This is not the starting point, but as I was trying to whittle on over to the tabs that I had set up, this popped up. Windows Defender Firewall has blocked some features of this app. Now, as you might recall from the last video I posted, after I did the entire recording, I got an error message from Zoom saying that it hadn't properly run the screen captures and thus it defaulted to my setup thumbnail page. And so I went ahead and ran the updates and, just it is what it is. So not going to repost it. There's a great amount of information in there. Unfortunately, you cannot see the images that I was pointing to because the words we can't see, but I'll continue to work forward in other videos and clarify that as well. So that'll come back around, but it is really worth listening to. There's quite a bit there. But I thought this was interesting. Windows Defender Firewall has blocked some features of Zoom meetings on all public and private networks. So it's got the name, the publisher, and then of course the path where it's saved here. And so I thought that was very interesting that this is where we're at. Now I did in fact ask Zoom to be on here, of which is the point of the discussion today. So at this point I am going to allow access so we can continue. But that's not really as helpful. And we'll hope that this is going back in the direction that I needed to go. So this is a path I actually wanted to go down today. I have had problems with this Twitter since day one. It has required multiple points of contact information above and beyond what is normally required. And this is the same as the ID Me feature that the California EDD implemented. I think it was implemented in other states as well, is they start with one item and ask for another item and another item. So for instance, they ask for driver's license, which is uploaded as clearly as possible. And then they say, oh, we can't see that. We need your passport. And then somebody uploads that and now they're in because they spent time, they've got it uploaded there and say, oh, by the way, we just need your phone number. Well, as we've talked about specifically with the US Postal Service, a phone number, and you have access to somebody's entire world, billing history, contacts, social media posts, everything. And then they need a secondary phone number or a secondary email or a secondary this, a secondary that, and people just keep giving it. Which is why I refused to go down that path with ID Me with California. I wouldn't even start one step in that direction, immediately contacting the congressman and informing them that they came up with this brilliant idea, you solve it. I provided via a secure network my contact and ID information that way and had them use a system outside this public company that has no digital security. But anyways, back to Twitter here. So I've had challenges from day one launching this. And at one point I got a suspension notice, but when I clicked on it, it let me in anyways. I have no idea what it was about. Anything posted there is strictly from my own feed. I'm very careful with it. There's no spam. I haven't even reached out to build up the clients yet or the followers. So it's just really just basic post based by the facts that I'm gathering. And so this, a few weeks after I signed on, I got a requirement that I had to have a secondary phone number. Initially, they had to have a primary phone number. So they already have everything about me, but they needed more. And I jumped through that hoop too, because I do have another system that I use in order to run that through. So that went through. And then this time I logged on, and I haven't logged on in a few months, or I'm sorry, almost a month at this point. And I got a suspension notice that my account is in read-only mode only. And when I looked at it, it seemed to have something with the phone number, not clear because they're never clear, but I just, I'd already gone through the two hoops with the phone number. They're both valid numbers. And I get to this account suspension. So I did go ahead and filed a report, and they take it as a submitted ticket, even though it's directly from the suspension page that you click through there. So I filed that, and then I went back here, and it looks like all my messages are gone, but it appears that they will allow me to post new messages. And there is no read-only post here, so I don't know what they're doing. Clearly, they're not playing on the same team that we're at, but so many people with Parler or GoDaddy or AWS platform services are being taken down. And this isn't, at first we called it what's going on. And then we called it shadow banning. And then we call it as it is as the congressional hearings move forward. But I want to point out this before we wrap back around to what's going on this. So I have touted time and again, do not use any of these other protocols. And the reason being is they're awesome in the concept. So this one says, is a password manager developed by Agile Bytes. It provides a place for users to store various passwords, software licenses, and other sensitive information in a virtual vault that is locked with, and then it gives you the format, guarded password. Now here's LastPass, is a freemium password man. They even do it for free. And as we know, if you're showing up for lunch and you're not paying, you are the lunch. It's a freemium password manager that stores encrypted passwords online. The standard version of LastPass comes with a web interface, but also includes plugins for various web browsers and apps for many smartphones. I do not use these because if you have all your passwords, and yes, I do have a different password for every single one of my logons, which I'm going to point out to you in a minute what's going on with that. But there's other ways to manage it than electronically, and certainly a better way than having one password as the vault key for all your passwords. Because rather than somebody having to do a brutal hack to get into each one of your different, all they need is a brute hack into LastPass, and away they go. They've got everything, your entire life. Well, take a look at this. So I typically use Firefox. That is my default. Since Microsoft has been so aggressive about taking over the home computer, I've had great challenges with Brave or Firefox, and even Chrome I cannot open at all. Every once in a while I can get around it with another download, but it's already on my machine and it just completely blocked with Microsoft. And even if I'm using a Gmail account as an example, and the document is saved on my computer for a little over a year and a half, I cannot grab it from my computer. I have to use an intermediary to take that PDF or Word document or image and then upload it to my Gmail. It won't go direct anymore. And I know that many have also commented on that same situation. But what floored me is as I was digging around and checking the privacy settings, I came across this Edge settings and password. Now, I never put Edge on my computer. I had Internet Explorer, just like many of us. And through the updates, Microsoft put the team meeting or whatever they call that one on over and over again and locked down my computer, trying to force me to use it. And they also at some point put Edge on my computer. But what looks like what they also did, and I have noticed this, so I have gone in here a number of times and turned this off, having it all the way down, but I've got this setting so at least came up today, and I'm not going to scroll lower on the screen, but it says if you can look down towards the bottom there, saved passwords. I have 117 saved passwords, 43 reused, and 74 are weak. Now, what's very interesting with that is my password formulation is quite extensive and I've run them through other protocols. So if they're weak, then it's one-off sites that have nothing to do with money or tying into others. It's just something to get in and get out. There are no reused. So I went through and looked at them, and in fact, they have pulled reuse for multiple pages to the same platform. But you and I don't log in multiple times to the same platform for each page. Once we're in, we're in. So that's not 100% correct, but that's the report. But what's very scary here is they have 117 saved passwords. Many of the passwords go back years and years and years. And yet the computer that I'm on, that's supposedly where the passwords were grabbed and saved to help me out, this computer is barely 2 years old. So all those passwords of sites that I have not even logged into in years, and many I don't even have an account with anymore, somehow got migrated over here to Microsoft, and I don't use Microsoft accounts. I don't use their Microsoft basically the operating system, because that's our choice, right? We have Android for phone, we have Microsoft and iOS for PC. Beyond that, I don't use the word suite or Office suite because I use LibreOffice. I don't use Outlook. I don't use, so there isn't a common denominator where it would have been pulled in. So where did it get all that data? And as I look through all the passwords saved, I became more and more angry. Microsoft took the liberty to put this on my computer, to grab the data, actually go into some other cookies tool, which I have yet to figure out where they got it from, and pull in additional data and passwords, which creates a track record of the formulation of how I create passwords. There's a pattern there. And they're storing it on this computer. So if in fact somebody were to take this computer, they would have open-ended access to even accounts that I have been very clear about saying I don't want them saved, making sure I open and shut them. I don't leave the tabs open. And if they are pulled onto this, they are isolated, used, and pulled down. And yet even those passwords were saved down below. This is very, very serious. Microsoft virus protection, just like the leader of that company, virus protection, has again overstepped their bounds. So as I mentioned, there's LastPass, there's OnePass, I think there's iPass, there's all kinds of different passwords. Be smart with your passwords. Companies are grabbing your information and giving it out. If you're putting apps on your phone as an example, the apps are scraping the data. Just be aware of where we're at today. There's only so much we can do, but awareness is the first step. Now, I want to bring this up because of the conversation we opened with today. Now, this came out 2, 3, 4 days ago, right? April 1st, 2020. Zoom was sued for allegedly sharing users' personal data. This was reported on CBS News. Fast forward 3 days ago, Zoom to pay $85 million in settlements for false encryption claims. My bad, I lied. They not only claimed that they encrypted, they did not, but as we look up 3 days ago, Zoom to pay $85 million as a fine. So before it says in settlements, this says as a fine. That means a tax. That means there's a government agency whose courts are doing a shakedown. Zoom to pay $85 million as a fine for sending data to Facebook and Google was the other one there, and LinkedIn, and letting hackers disrupt Zoom meetings in a practice called Zoom bombing. They allowed it. So where was your child last year? Was your child studying from home using a Microsoft computer over a Zoom system? Were the classes Zoom bombed? In order to set up information for them to log into their Zoom classroom? Was that information sold to Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, etc.? Yes, it was. Your child's information, every recording of the classroom, every image, every nose pick, every talk, all of that was recorded. The privacy of your children has been violated. And we knew going into this, it was happening because prior to these lockdowns, and by the way, how did we have enough computers ready for everybody to work from home that was linked to an office, and all these children to study from home? Where did all these come from? I'll tell you, it came out of the same fairy solution that Jeff Bezos ordering 100,000 new delivery vans to be delivered immediately before the lockdowns. That's not a last minute build to build that many vans and have them delivered. And that's not a last minute creation to have that many laptops ready for the addiction process of our children. And yet the winners were chosen. Zoom had gone through the proper channels from Sand Hill Road, venture capitalists, getting the funding that they were going to be the leader. And in exchange for being the leader and touted, They sold their data. They pulled the rug out from under your child, and your child doesn't even know it. And again, it's one piece of a puzzle here, one piece of a puzzle there, and the pieces of the puzzle slowly come together until all of a sudden AI has taken over the persona. And what else did we learn this summer? Right? In April and reiterated in July, Facebook, Twitter reportedly partnered with the occupants in our white building. And as a retaliation, our occupants in the white building slammed for being a conduit. Even though it had just come out, what we don't know how to research the news, what we didn't remember with our brains. This mudslinging back and forth gets really big when you're at war. You don't know who to trust behind you, in front of you. We're going to see a lot of shakedowns and a lot of ripping apart at these levels because they are so far off the path of the truth that there's really no coming back on this one. So all we can do is duck and run for cover, knowing that our country is already on the path, already on the road to being rebuilt. And we will continue on this path. Okay, whether we're on the target or just caught up in incompetence, we're going to keep stepping forward. Have a beautiful day.